This man saved a crocodile from certain death, and several years later, something shocking happened. Some of the most dangerous creatures on Earth live in the water. Among them are crocodiles, with their huge, powerful jaws and lightning-fast attacks, so fishermen try to stay away from these toothy river predators. Fisherman Ambo lived on a small island near Kalimantan, and he spent half his life in the water on an old wooden fishing boat. Every morning, the man would go fishing to bring his catch to a small market and sell it to local traders by the afternoon. Ambo worked very hard to provide for his wife and young son Beauty, wishing for the boy to have a better life than his own. For this, Ambo would get in the boat at the first rays of the sun, trying to reach the best fishing spot before the other fishermen. Ambo had been fishing since his childhood with his father, when they still lived in a small village consisting of several dozen houses and as many wooden boats. By now, the village had turned into a small town with its own pier, where large trade ships often docked. Of course, trade was good for the local economy, but at the same time, the more visitors there were, the more the environment suffered, and water and air pollution gradually became an increasingly serious problem. That morning, as usual, Ambo set out to fish at sunrise, and about half an hour later, he reached a spot where the river was widest, and the catch promised to be very good. The fisherman cast several fishing rods and, as usual, began to wait patiently. Suddenly, the man caught a glimpse of a large shadow passing under his boat, which definitely could not belong to any fish. Ambo was distracted from his fishing rods and focused on the water's surface, trying to understand what it was. Moments later, a crocodile surfaced on the other side of the boat, behaving quite strangely, as toothy predators rarely swim in this deep part of the river, preferring to hunt in shallow waters. The reptile was clearly still quite young, barely over a meter long. Ambo realized that the predator was not a threat to him, but still decided to take a closer look. Suddenly, the fisherman noticed what was bothering the reptile. A large plastic bag was stuck in its toothy maw. The animal could not get rid of the trash in its throat, repeatedly failing to do so, and was suffocating, unable to spit or swallow the bag. Seeing that the crocodile was in trouble, Ambo, without hesitation, rushed into the water, stuck his hand straight into the predator's mouth, and with a sharp jerk pulled the dirty bag out. Then the fisherman pushed the reptile away with both feet, and while it was still disoriented, he climbed back into the boat. The crocodile took one last look at the man who had just saved its life and, wagging its tail, swam to the shore. Back in the boat, Ambo realized that he had just taken a huge risk with his own life, and his heart continued to beat wildly in his chest for several minutes. A few hours later, having finished fishing, Ambo had almost forgotten what had happened that morning, and he headed home. When the man reached a narrower part of the river, the same small crocodile reappeared next to his boat, confidently swimming alongside, as if trying to thank the kind man for his invaluable help. Ambo smiled and threw a few small fish from his excellent catch that day into the water for the animal. The reptile accompanied the fisherman all the way home, and when Ambo's wife saw the river predator next to her husband's boat, she screamed in horror, thinking that the man was in great danger. Ambo immediately calmed his worried wife, threw another fish to the crocodile, showing that it was not dangerous, and then told his wife the unusual story of its rescue. However, the story did not end there. Several years later, when Ambo and his grown son Booty went fishing, a large crocodile swam up to their house. The fisherman's wife, convinced that it was the same reptile that Ambo had saved, fed the animal, and in the evening, when the husband and son returned, she told them about it. The next day, Ambo himself waited for the crocodile, which had grown significantly since their first meeting and had turned into a large, powerful predator, about 3 meters long. Of course, Ambo treated his old friend to a tasty fish and even petted its big, wrinkled nose. The fisherman named the crocodile Riska, who now often appears at the man's house, knowing that he will always receive a delicious treat here. Sometimes Ambo meets the crocodile on the way to the fishing spot and shares another treat with the huge predator, and neighbors claim that the fisherman treats Riska almost like a domestic pet. Sun Beauty also became attached to the unusual pet, and he loves to entertain himself by playing with the big crocodile or feeding it. Usually, the fishermen feed the predator fish, and on holidays they might even treat it to a meaty piece of chicken. Also, the fishermen from the village, caring about the environment, try to clean the banks of their river from various trash left by irresponsible people and tourists at least once a week. According to Ambo, Riska has become a true friend to him, and year after year, it accompanies the fisherman and his son on fishing trips and swimming along the river like a faithful pet. Most people, hearing this unusual story, are greatly surprised, as until that moment, no one could even imagine that a real friendship was possible between a man and a large toothy reptile.